Welcome to the Legacy Podcast, making our Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) more famous for action. Think of peace, justice, and strong institutions not as a heavy book of rules, but as the foundation and floor of the house you live in. Imagine you are building a beautiful home. You have the best solar panels for energy and a great garden to farm your foods or flowers. But if the ground underneath that house is a swamp of unfairness, the walls will eventually crack and the roof will fall in. You cannot have a sustainable house if the foundation is made of moving parts like crime or laws that only apply to some people. Sustainable development goals sustain peace, justice, and strong institutions is about solidifying the ground. It is the realization that peace and justice are the only foundations strong enough to hold up the rest of your dreams. I am your host, United Nations Fund, and I'm so glad you are here. Today's legacy would be to talk about the 16th Sustainable Development Goal, the peace, justice, and strong institutions goal. For you to grab your knowledge, discover your role, and do your action. See, every great game needs a clear set of rules and a very honest referee. If the referee is taking bribes or if the rules change halfway through the match to favor one team, the game falls apart and people stop playing eventually. Our society is the same. Sustainable Development Goal 16, the peace, justice, and strong institutions goal, is about the rules of the game. It's about ensuring the referees, that's our institutions, are honest and that the rules are written in a way that everyone has a fair shot at winning. When the system is fair, everyone stays in the game. Also, you can think of your society or our society like a high-tech smartphone. It has great hardware, that is the beautiful land, talented people, and resources. But if the operating system is full of glitches like corruption, viruses, like violence, and broken apps like unfair courts, the phone is useless. It crashes when you need it most. So our Sustainable Development Goal 16 is our global plan to update our operating system. It's about making sure the software of our society is fast, fair, and secure for every single person, regardless of who they are. What is the one thing that allows you to walk down a street at night or start a business or even send your child to school? It's not just money, it's trust. Trust is this glue that can hold us together. So when that glue dries up because of violence or injustice, our society will begin to crumble or fall apart. So it's about protecting that trust. It's about building institutions that do what they say they will do and creating a world where peace is not just the absence of war, but the presence of safety for everyone. We live in a world that is moving faster than ever, and with that speed comes new risks. So our Sustainable Development Goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, is here or is saying, I am here to make sure that we protect the vulnerable from exploitation, trafficking. It is to ensure that every human being has a legal identity, so they are not invisible to the system. The goal is also about making sure that no matter how big the world gets, the individual or you are always protected by a shield of justice, and everyone else is subject to that justice or to that law. The law should not be above anybody, irrespective of their age, their status, or whatever they may have achieved. We are literally living through a global trust crisis. As information moves faster than ever, the stability of our communities depends on the strength of our social contracts. That is the unwritten agreement that we treat each other fairly and that our systems will protect the vulnerable, or you and I. Sustainable Development Goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, is our plan to update our operating system and make sure the software of our society is fair and secure for everyone. It's a common sense of making sure that it's something even as simple as you can see how your data, or your taxes is being used. There are no hidden secret dues stealing from the system. Everyone can feel safe walking down their own street. The system is there to protect you from crime and violence without invading your privacy. If something goes wrong, you can go to the court and be treated exactly the same way as the richest person in town, even if you are the poorest or the most average, and so on. No one gets a VIP pass to break the rules. It feels like politics or law is only for people in suits, but really it's about belonging. It's the shift from being a user of a broken system to being a developer of a better one. Sustainable Development Goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, is about realizing that without a peaceful operating system, none of the other goals, like our aim to end hunger, improve quality education, or fix our climate, and so on, can never truly be possible. So this goal is about ensuring that everyone is treated fairly, equally, and that we are not just relaxed on the broken system, we are saying that we want to fix it. It's just like when your phone's operating system is having issues, or your phone is having issues, they say, oh, you are so relaxed even when you have no choice. See, one thing about peace and justice is that we have no choice but to be peaceful. We have no choice but to seek justice. We have to. This is more like the lifeblood of our society. Nothing happens in a nation warring or going to wars. Nothing good comes out of a nation that is constantly in wars, or a system that is constantly serving injustice to its people. Talk more of the government itself. So everywhere is full of chaos, everyone is frustrated, no one can think straight, and so on. It's really, really bad, especially for this our 21st century. So we have to get up and work. You and I, the government, the private individuals and institutions and organizations, and our rule of law system, and all of that. So let's move ahead to the official targets created by the United Nations organization, pointing at the reason why the Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions Goal was created in the first place. Both actions from what our government houses around the world, private individuals and enterprises, you and I today can do or can join hands together to make happen, to help solve your action paralysis towards The peace, justice, and strong institutions goal, you must understand what the United Nations actually mean when they created this goal. Target 16.1 is about reducing all forms of violence, significantly reducing all forms of violence and related death rates everywhere, making safety a universal reality, not a reality that is in one nation and is not in another, in one region and is not in another. No, something that we can say, oh, anywhere I go around the world, I'm safe. Target 16.2 is about ending abuse and trafficking of children, that is, stopping the exploitation, trafficking, and all forms of violence against children. This is one of the, will I say, depending on the region you are or the kind of industry that you are in, children trafficking and all of this kind of violence and even human trafficking is so rampant. So we have to stop it in this 21st century. It's not doing us any good and it will not take us anywhere. Target 16.3 is about promotion of the rule of law, ensuring that equal access to justice is available for everyone at both national and international levels. Ensuring or making sure that the law is the boss, not the person in charge. Did you get this statement? The law is the boss, not the person in charge. We live in a generation, we live in a century that the person in charge is the boss. The law is just written there or just a paper being read out. Most times not even followed at all. Only the words of the human being in charge of that organization or institutions or court is what takes place. Target 16.4 is about combating organized crime, that is reducing illicit financial and arms flows and strengthening the recovery of stolen assets. In other words, stopping the flow of illegal money and weapons. Target 16.5 is about reducing corruption and bribery, eliminating the under-table payments in all endeavors or institutions, cutting out the middlemen who always tend to steal from the public. Target 16.6 is about developing effective, accountable institutions, building government bodies that are transparent and do what they say they will do. Where can we find such a word as this in this generation? If your government house is transparent, doing exactly what they say they will do, fighting for your justice, for your rights and so on, you need to take a moment and actually clap for them. Because many citizens around the world in some nations are not enjoying that great deal. Target 16.7 is about ensuring responsive, inclusive decision making, making sure everyone, regardless of your age, your gender, or your background, you have a seat at the table. Target 16.8 is about strengthening participation in global governance, giving developing countries a stronger voice in international decisions. In this our time, both the developing nations are underdeveloped and least developed. They hardly have a voice in international decisions or where corporations whereby decisions are made whereby almost all the world follows. So the least developed nation or the underdeveloped or the developing nations, their voice are not always heard. So we need to stop this in this 21st century and make sure that everyone has a seat on the table and also they are actually being heard, not just saying what they want or laying out their decision. That decision is taken into consideration also. Target 16.9 is about providing legal identity for all. By 2030, ensuring everyone has a birth certificate, for example, or an identity card so they can access their rights. Target 16.10 is about ensuring public access to information, protecting our fundamental freedoms, and ensuring people can get the facts they need, people can get the information they need, both about whether their organizations, their government, their history of their nation or whatever. No information is to be hidden or stored somewhere for exploitation. It's available to the general public. Target 16.8, which are more seen like the implementation targets, is strengthening national institutions to prevent violence, building the capacity to combat this terrorism and crime. We are talking about especially in developing nations. I guess 16.B is about to promote and enforce non-discriminatory laws, ensuring that laws protect everyone without bias. And this word promotion is very, very, very important. People just have to know their rights. People just have to know that when they are not being treated fairly, and not just knowing, ensuring that a nation, a government outline, a law institution or whatsoever related to the providing peace, justice, actually abide to those laws without bias of nationality, age, gender, or social status. Let's take the case studies for the Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions Sustainable Development Goal. Case study 1 is called the I Paid a Bribe movement. Happened in India. What was the problem? Small scale everyday corruption, like a police officer asking for a bribe to ignore a minor traffic, or a clerk asking for money to process a birth certificate, was acting like a sand on the seashore of the society, hurting the poorest people the most. That is, it was very, very, very rampant, and this was affecting the least people in the country mostly. I Paid a Bribe, IPAB, was launched in India in 2010 to curb petty corruptions by allowing citizens to anonymously report bribe demands. By documenting the who, the where, and how much of bribery, it increased transparency, identified corruption areas, so where it took place and who. A non-profit launched a simple website where citizens could anonymously report when and where and why they were asked for this bribe. So instead of just complaining, the site turned thousands of stories into a map of corruption. It showed which government offices were the hottest for bribery. The data became so undeniable that high-level officials used it to identify the bad apples and redesign processes. like making permit applications digital to remove the opportunity for bribe. What was the result? Transparency. It moved corruption from the shadows to the screen. It also gave regular people a way to fight back without fear, proving that information is the best antidote to injustice. The impact: the platform received over 15 million visits, providing valuable data on corruption's dynamics in India. It has successfully influenced civic awareness, and some evidence has suggested that it makes officials more hesitant to demand bribe. Imagine when you want to demand bribe, or the person wants to demand bribe and remembers that, oh, I'll be reported in so app, time, location, and where. It's going to be really embarrassing. So, and it's available, the data is available to the whole country. So that was the action which a non-profit launched to curb bribery and corruption in India by creating a website that made the citizens report when the bribe was asked, where and why, or who collected it. So what is the lesson for you? You don't need a revolution to fix a system. Sometimes you just need to shine a light on where it is broken. Most times when people are hesitant to make a change or to be part of something that creates change, is that they think is something that, they think so big and sometimes out of the line. I will need plenty of resources, I will need plenty of connections, I will need plenty of people, and so on. Sometimes we just need to look at where this injustice is being laid. Air your voice. Your voice is free, and we are in the digital world age. Or air your resources. Use your resources to create a digital platform, or anything you feel that will be part of exposing those bribery or those corruptions or those exploitations. And also ensure that your mind is actually strong enough to not participate or to not end up being among the people doing those injustice and evil. Because you can be trying to, I want to solve this problem, I want to expose them. Before you know it, you are tempted. So don't go where your mind or your heart is not strong enough to resist temptations. Yes. Moving on ahead to our second case study for the peace, justice, and strong institution, called the Haki Justice Digital Courts, happened in Kenya. The problem, or what was the problem? For decades, the legal system in rural Kenya was slow, expensive, and physically out of reach. As if a small farmer had a land dispute or a mother needed a legal certificate, they had to travel for days and pay facilitation fees or bribes just to get a hearing. So the justice gap was very huge. So the Kenya judiciary launched a mobile-first digital justice system that allowed courts to use platforms like Zoom and Microsoft Teams to conduct proceedings, allowing for remote participation, which has significantly reduced the need for physical presence. The judiciary system now uses the digital system started up to manage millions of cases, reducing the workload by 30%. Courts now handle electronic evidence and utilize digital audio recording of proceedings, increasing accuracy, and reducing file loss. The results are all of these, also including that the time to resolve a case dropped by 60%. Also, there was an increase of presence of trust when people see that the social operating system was fast and is now fair, or is fast and is now fair, they stop taking the law into their own hands. So, what is this literally trying to say? A digital mobile was launched in Kenya by the Kenya judiciary in order to handle almost all the court's activities. Transparency was now more carried out. There was speed, and also people started to trust the system more because almost everything became digital. Court hearings, accessing case files, receiving case numbers, and so on. So what is the lesson for you? Technology is the great leveler of justice. By moving the help desk to the people, you make the institution strong. We can use this technology that is criticized sometimes to make our justice system very, very great or very, very improved. Imagine if a tech approach was not followed. No matter how hard the government would have tried or even set up police everywhere to see that briberies are not being taken, human will always remain human. Our body system may fail us, our emotions may fail us, and we may even be forced to collect those bribes or to just be adapted to the system as the victims. So tech now became the doer of the whole thing. We don't have to think of how, or Kenya citizens didn't have to think of how far they will go just to make sure they are ahead. They just logged on to their mobile and did everything they were supposed to do and trust that the system will make it happen for them just the way it's meant to be. So technology is very, very good if we make use of it in the right directions. So you have to do your action. You have to know to do your action, because this peace justice that we're talking about is not something for just one government house. You can see the case study we have talked about, the I paid a bribe movement was set up by a non-profit, an individual like you. So you can decide to set up your own in whatever industry you are. It may not be exactly like the case study mentioned, but if you think very well, you see that your mind is a whole ocean of ideas on things. So you have to do your action. This peace, justice, and strong institutions we're talking about is not just for one government house somewhere or a private individual to just carry on top of their heads. It's for you and I, even in your relation with your fellow people, neighbors, family. It's very, very, very important that you exercise peaceful negotiations, follow the peaceful way, and seek justice at all times. So these are actions that you can take in order to know that you are on the path of making these goals achieved or achievable. commit to some days or weeks, or okay, let's say this, let's put it this way, maybe days, then to weeks, or and even to months of the no shouting rule in all your disagreements. Peace starts with how you speak to people, how you speak to your family, your neighbors, and so on. Verify before you share. In 2026, misinformation is so much like a virus. Never share a shocking news story or any news story headline until you have checked is from is from at least two credible sources. Like it's very genuine. The genuine information. Know your rights. Download or research on the rights um for your country, for the people, the citizen, that is in the country where you are. What are the rights that have been attributed to every citizen? Justice is only possible if you know the rules of the game. If you don't know the rules, you think that is how the system is built, or you just conclude that there's no place for you there. Commit to never paying a bribe, even for something small. If asked, politely ask for a receipt or speak to a supervisor. It's very important that you start changing your attitude from your little everyday actions for life. Those are the things that progress to bigger actions. Let's say, for example, in your daily transactions, you are taking bribes. You see, there is no guarantee on your head that when you see a bigger opportunity to exploit in a massive way or from massive people, you will not do it. So we have to change our small daily attitudes, because if we are not careful, it may overrule us. But if we are careful enough to curb it or to say, oh, I can't do this anymore, we are going to totally change. We are going to not be interested in any of that sort. That you did it the first time, it does not define you. The second time, it does not define you. But if you continue in it, if you refuse to take a change of mind, a change of heart, a change of attitude, it's going to become part of you. So let's start changing our everyday, day-to-day way on how we transact and relate with people. You can choose to volunteer as a mentor to mentor a young person in your area, preventing violence. I mean, you are trying to prevent violence by providing a path for that young person. Because most times when people don't see a path to take, or they don't think that there are any right way to go about it, they always tend to go for the the unjust way. So try to mentor someone on the good path that you know, so that they'll be much aware and spread the good news. Also, subscribe to a newspaper or independent journalist to support their work, especially one that is always out there to tell the story as it is. Join a neighborhood watch or a neighborhood community. Maybe not for following whatever they are doing, which may not be social enough, but for knowing who lives on the next block. This reduces fear and crime. When you don't know people around you, or you have not had any physical talk or exchange of, would I say, emotions with them, you tend not to know who they are at all. Help someone who lacks technology or literacy to apply for their official identity card, at least to give them um, a legal document to have. So someone cannot just be walking around without an ID card. Yes, you can help them apply for it or advocate for your government to make it free for all citizens. No one has to pay for their ID. They are done for them and printed and given to them. If you see something, say it. Use official confidential helplines to report abuse, whether male abuse, girls abuse, child abuse, parental abuse, whatever abuse in all its form. If once you see a part or a helpline, please make sure that you report that person, that organization, or that community. Nobody should be above the law, and your report can actually go a very long way. But you have to check and see that the person or the institution you are reporting to are actually known for carrying out justice. Reporting to the wrong institutions might give you problems, and you don't want to put yourself in danger over something that you may not even end up winning. That is why everyone has to be on this path of peace and justice, so that we will all be treated fairly and equally, and not back off and taking in all the pain in us because we feel that the system is not just enough. Mark the dates of your local town hall meeting and commit to attending one, or whatever it is called these days. In the olden times, it was called town hall meetings. Whatever you call it these days, whether group meetings, school meetings, however, but try to attend, especially if it concerns matters of the society and let me say the community where you are in, where you are working, how we are going to make this better, how we are going to make the flow of work, relationships more justified. You should put yourself out there to participate. Focus on improving your personal integrity, your personal character, your need for conflict resolution. Don't be a person of war, be a person of peace. Check also, you can try to check if your city or your nation allows residents to vote on how tax money is spent. If not, start a petition to request for it, advocate for it. See, there is no government without the people. Most times, government tend to misbehave when the people have already adapted to the lifestyle that is being shown to them. But when a people tends to rebel to that lifestyle or say no, we want our peace, we want our justice, and we want our strong institutions or a working institution, they will have no choice, because you cannot be saying you are leading a nation that the whole nation is not agreeing to be led by the way you are leading. When someone out there, many people out there are out there protesting, out there petitioning, out there advocating, that government will just have to have sense. You can see it in that way, but they just have to change, because the whole point of government is the people, to lead the people rightly and make sure they are on the right path, protecting their rights, protecting them, providing, and so on. You can also volunteer or donate to programs that focus on healing the harm rather than and even punishing the crime. But most people can prefer to focus on organizations or foundations or programs that, let me say someone is raped. Some organizations focus on getting justice for the rape. For the person, the person who raped the girl or the male or the female. Some organizations or institutions or programs tend to focus on getting justice and payback on that person, while some focus on who is raped, how is their mental health, their emotional health, what is the way forward, how can we stabilize it. Honestly, in a world like this, I think the both should be 50-50. Yes. But it's almost the other way around. At a point, when people focus on finding justice, before you know it, the noise is over, or the talk of justice is over. No one cares again about the situation. Even the person that was harmed is off the hook. But when we fix our eyes on that person that was harmed, we make sure that they are balanced enough to bounce back in their society to make a great change. If we are organizing a meeting or event, look at the speakers. They should be of different ages, races, and genders represented, or ask, are they of different ages, races, and genders? So they should be well represented in terms of race, age, and gender. We should not be discriminating one gender or the other, or one race or the other, when they are actually supposed to be there. Support programs that bring law enforcement and citizens together for honest and non-confrontational talks. You can say diplomatic dialogue. Ensure your office only goes for conflict-free resolutions. You should not allow conflict to grow in your workplace, which turns to hatred, which turns people not wishing the company good anymore. Audit your communication. Are you using us versus them language? In 2026, peace starts with de-escalating the culture war. It's us. Address is not, don't just be pointing fingers. Say, what did we do? How can we solve it? Not, you did this, you did that. Now go ahead and solve it, and go ahead and make a change. No. Especially if you're in a leadership position, even if you are not, when you are resolving conflicts, try to first of all watch your language. Let it be free of violence and of vulgar words. Then also try to check if you are just pointing fingers or you are also acknowledging your own mistakes. You can also promote digital rights, literacy. Teach an older or younger person how to spot deepfakes and state-sponsored disinformation. Support local legislation that mandates transparency in law enforcement interactions. You can also donate to organizations that provide legal and physiological support to people who expose high-level corruption. That is what we call the people who are anonymous whistleblower. Yes, if what they are saying is actually true and proven with enough evidence, then in any way you can, they should be supported actually. If you are in agriculture, advocate for blockchain land deeds so that your farm can't be stolen through corrupt paperwork. So it will no more just be about transaction of lands through paper, but we have a secured way, like is done in the cryptocurrency world. Yes, you can think of that, how to make it happen. It may not be, let me say, someone that has the is in the field can have the idea to make it happen, whether in the farming area or the digital aspect. Yes, you can actually use one day or some days of your annual leave to volunteer as a worker or observer in a local election, in a regional election where you know that decisions and leaders are being made or produced to prevent bribery, corruption, and promote transparency of the electoral processes. Audit your school's peace policies. Ask your child's school what is your retroactive justice plan for bullying. Yes, what is written for actions like bullying and so on. Like what is the punishment? For some schools, policy are not actually strong enough to may shock you, but some schools policy on bullying and some of this behavior or malpractice are not actually strong enough. They don't take it. They sometimes they tend to take it as teenagers just passing through their teenage age, or children just passing through their children age, and they are tend to fight. Before you know it, the whole school is turned to a school where you can bully and get away with it or do whatever you want. And you may not even know. But your child may be going through most of these things, and teenagers don't tend to speak about what they are going through. They actually tend to swallow it all in. From there, you start seeing changes in their characters that is not in line with what you want them to be or how you want them to behave. You can decide to learn the red flags of trafficking or human trafficking in your industry, your hospitality, logistics, etc. and keep reporting it. Or let me say you are doing a work, try to find out how is it that how do people actually get their show. Let's just say follow the shortcut. The way that is not right to get this job done. And if you're trying to find out, you know that you want to do it, but you want to expose those processes and people. Support independent reporters in conflict zones who are telling the human story behind the headlines. The headlines sometimes always tend to talk about what is happening, the materialistic happening, but the human story, emotions, humans that are being affected are not always being talked about. But when something like this is talked about, help can come in from anywhere. Ask an official, where can I find the public audit for the new park project? Yes, some of these informations are available, just that people don't care to learn it or know them. A project is going on in your nation, your community, you don't get to find out like what came about it, how it is. Yes, probably that is how most percentage of people feel, but we can start to change our actions and actually care about the projects going on around our community or nation. Very important to use your social media platforms to highlight a positive peace story. Someone who bridged a divide rather than the person that widened it, or a situation that caused peace, justice to prevail rather than the one that caused it not to prevail. Because we live in the 21st century, whereby evil news or bad news spreads out faster. We need more spreaders of good news. This is why most people believe that justice does not prevail again, because most of the information out there, if you open your Chrome browser or whatever, all you are receiving is stories of injustice and news of this attack, that attack, and so on. But if we have more newsroom reporting good stories, more reporters or more writers writing blogs on good stories, it will be very, very good. Invest in peace bonds. Support financial institutions that fund the rebuilding of infrastructures in post-conflict zones. Advocate for universal ID. Support global NGOs, that's non-governmental organizations, that provide digital IDs to refugees so that they can access banking and healthcare and so on. Support democracy as a service. Help organizations that provide secure digital voting technology to developing nations. You can support with your skill, with your resources, or with advocating that people like this, organizations like this actually exist, and referring people or institutions to them. Support laws that require all political donations to be published in real time online. That's lobbying against dark money. If you're an elder or a community leader, offer your services to help settle small-scale disputes between neighbors before they go to court. The elderly knowledge or a leader's skills can actually stop two fighting people, neighbors or so on, from actually taking themselves to court or even taking the law into their own hands. Realize that justice is more like a muscle. If you don't use it to stand up for someone else today, it won't be strong, or it may not be strong enough to stand up for you tomorrow. The justice that you are trying to build today, or the system or the advocacy or the character you are trying to act today in line with peace and justice, may be what will save you in future time or in the days to come. You can also support international criminal courts. Advocate for your country to fully cooperate with global justice bodies. Yes, international institutions that keep nations in check and so on. Lobby against illicit arms flows. Support treaties, that is, supporting treaties that track and limit the sale of weapons. Imagine if weapons are available anytime, anywhere. Just imagine what humans will use it for against their fellow humans or neighbors. Check if your pension fund is invested in companies that profit from private prisons or border violence. Your ultimate action should be to realize that you are a co-author of society, of your society. Justice is not something that happens to you, it's something you can build with every interaction you make. Promise to be a person of integrity even when no one is watching. Realize this, that the system is not them or someone else elsewhere. The system is us. Every time you choose the truth over a lie, fairness over a shortcut, and peace over a fight, you are coding or aiming for a better world. Strong institutions could be our ultimate act of hope. It is the decision to believe that we can live together in a way that does not require a strong man to tell us what to do, because we have a strong system that treats us all as adults. When you act with justice, you are not just following the rules, you are becoming the foundation yourself. Your awareness action gap in Sustainable Development Goal 16, the peace, justice, and strong institutions, closes when you realize that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice. You cannot have a stable house on a rotten foundation. Also, you have to believe that strong institutions are the ultimate act of self-respect. It is the realization that we are all safer and more prosperous when the rules of the game are fair to everyone. When you act with integrity, you are not just being a good person, you are reinforcing the good fabrics of civilization. You have now grabbed your knowledge, discovered your role. Now go out and do your action because justice is a flame that must be tended by every single one of us. Stay connected to the Legacy Podcast TLP to lead you through on how you can create a sustainable change. When you choose to listen, act and share this legacy, you are the engine that is making our sustainable development goals, peace, justice, and strong institutions more famous for action.